Welcome to Productive Discourse. Productive Discourse is a conversation where we talk about the positive activities that take place within our communities. In other words, we're constantly searching for a shining needle of common ground in that haystack of fear. Today, we're continuing our conversation about the great sports legends that came out of the city of Oakland. They built their skills on the playgrounds and ball fields throughout the city, and they brought what I call the three E's: energy, enthusiasm, and excellence into their sports. Many of them won championships. Some were elected to their sports halls of fame, and most of them ended up by serving their communities. Today, we're pleased to have as our guest Michael Wilhite. Michael is a graduate of Oakland Senior High School. He went on to play basketball and baseball at Columbia University, where he was elected to the Columbia Sports Hall of Fame. He's currently managing director of the New York-based real estate firm, Halsey Street Advisors. And he also coaches a championship 10 to 12-year-old baseball team in Harlem, New York. Michael, welcome to Productive Discourse.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a great day. Great day.
Now, you mentioned a lot of names and a lot of experiences. There was another guy that went to Columbia named Lou Gehrig. And you broke some of his records.
His record, it's funny. When I broke the record, they didn't tell me anything. They didn't mention I was close. They didn't say anything. The sports information director at the time, Bill Steinman, who just passed away last week, he was very good about trying to keep me abreast of what was going on. He didn't say a word. He kept it totally quiet.
Right.
He kept it totally quiet of what was going on. And when I broke the record, we played St. John's in my senior year. Normal routine, what we do in the outfield, we're talking, hey, we need to beat these guys. We hadn't beaten these guys forever. They were one of our nemesis. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to play my best against these guys. So we ended up winning the game 7-0. I hit the home run and didn't find out until afterwards. So one of the things that I ended up doing, went home, won the game 7-0. We're all happy. We're enthusiastic. I hit the home run, which put us ahead. And it was amazing. It was amazing. So the next day I get a call from Bill Steinman, who was the information director. He says, there's a guy here named Dick Schaap that wants to interview you.
Dick Shaft.
Yeah. And at the time he was on ABC. And so he had the sports program on Sundays. And so I had no recording, this is no VCR, no DVD, no YouTube, any of that stuff. So I still haven't gotten the broadcast. I did watch it. But I was on national television. I got a letter from Major League Baseball about all of this stuff. And so it was a fantastic experience. Where I was located, he knew where I was. And my friend Tony said, Mike, they've been calling me because Dick Schaap wants to interview you. You better get down there, because I was at a friend's house in the Bronx at the time, which was kind of funny. And he paid for my cab ride to get back from the Bronx back to campus. And so we had the Lou Gehrig Lounge is where we did the interview, which was kind of apropos for the interview. So that was fun. That was fun. And it ended up, my friends were telling me on the stadiums, they had the little banner on the stadiums that Mike Wilhite had hit home run that broke the Lou Gehrig record. It was like a 55-year-old record. They have it posted in the College Baseball Hall of Fame on his site on the 2017 that I found. I was just looking around there to see, had he made the college. And so he was in the College Baseball Hall of Fame as well. And so they had that I broke his record after 55 years. Wow. So it was crazy. It was crazy.
I like you're talking about the old school, though. You're in the Bronx, and there's no cell phone. So somebody's looking for Michael. So they call Michael's friend and say, do you know where Michael is? And if that friend doesn't know, they call another friend, and that's how we used to find people.
Yes, exactly. And so Tony's going, Mike, Dick Schaap is looking for you. You need to get down to campus right now. He waited patiently. So we interviewed for about an hour and a half, and we talked about different things. Oakland, we talked about baseball, what the record means, and things like that. So it was such a great experience. I mean, I will never forget that. I will never forget that.
Right. That's great. So now you're coaching 10 to 12-year-olds. How do you like doing that? How's your experience?
Because they didn't know the history. But a friend of mine, my friend of mine named Frank, who I used to play catch with in the outfield, turned out that this kid went to University of Miami. Turned out that he turned out to be a business owner for the Apollo Theater. So he owned the Apollo. Didn't know any of this till I got back a couple of years ago. He found me through another person who I know, and they were working on some real estate projects. He says, Mike, I want you to come and work with me on this. And he says, are you the same Mike Wilhite that went to Columbia and used to play catch with me in the outfield? So we reconnected. We reconnected that way. And so he came out to tell the kids of all the records that I had at Columbia when we played in the championship game. And so the kids are looking at me like, what the heck? And I was low key about it. I didn't say anything. No one really knew who I was, in terms of the things that I had done in baseball at Columbia. They knew I went to Columbia, but they didn't know any of the baseball stuff. So I thought that was great. But I love these kids. These kids are phenomenal. We won the championship this year. And I guess one of the coaches said, I didn't think these kids were going to pull it together. But one of the things that I've learned over the years in working with kids is that you have to encourage them. Not every kid is going to be a superstar. Not every kid is going to be good, but you have to coach them up. And so we had a couple of kids that we coached them up. And actually, those kids that I coached up, they turned out to be the ones that helped us win the championship. Mm-hmm. And so you take the lowest of the lowest and you really give them some fundamentals, you give them some basics, and you really have to really make sure that these kids have fun. My number is have fun. Encourage them, have fun. Learn the game, have fun. Most of these kids can throw. A lot of them didn't know how to throw. They didn't know the little, I would say, fundamental things that make baseball fun. Teach them how to run the bases, catch the ball, how to catch a ground ball. And Little League is different. We didn't have Little League in Oakland, so we had Young America, which was created in lieu of Little League because the folks didn't allow Oakland to have, at that time, a franchise or have a license that they did for Little League. So later on, when I got 12, they had it, but it was only a small portion of Oakland, so they didn't use it for the entire Oakland. But Young America was better anyway. We had more talent. We had more teams, more coaches than any. We had probably over 100 coaches or so. So this was me really reminiscent of the coaches that I had. I think the first day that I was out there, I took a picture and I posted something about, hey, this is us. This is us, 50 years ago playing baseball in Oakland with the same kids, same coaches. I was out preparing the field. One of my coaches would always prepare the field all the time, Hank Thomason, who passed away some time ago. I had to remember him coming out with his truck. We always played on a manicured field, always played on a manicured field. The referees were young kids. The umpires were young kids like myself. So I used to, as a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, I would umpire games, for these same guys. And so I had the same sort of respect for these guys that the coaches had for me. And so I would encourage umpires, never gave them a bad time. I wasn't about arguing with the umpires over balls and strikes and all that kind of stuff, because it detracts from the game, I think, a little bit for the kids, as the kids are learning the game, because they tend to use that as an excuse. And I didn't want the kids to have any excuse for them not producing when they needed to produce. And so it was fun. It was just a fun time to coach the kids again. And then obviously the cherry on the top was winning the championship on a walk-off walk, bases loaded walk.
All right.
Bases walk.
It's a win.
Exactly. And I took it. I will take it. I will take it anytime.
Right. Now, when we were growing up, the African American representation in Major League Baseball was really big and really important. And now with the other sports, football, basketball, there's been other options. What do you see as far as the African American presence in baseball now?
I'm encouraged with what I see in college baseball now. For a minute, I wasn't so optimistic, and I tend to be an optimist, and so I really want to see that inclusion again. Baseball has kind of put itself. They put itself in a position. I saw it in the scouts at the Buck O'Neill, so I see it in the scouts. But I think one of the things that has hurt baseball, they have not marketed baseball like they should have. Mm-hmm. They got away from that. I think the best time for me when baseball was at an all-time high was when Peter Uberall was the commissioner. You knew who every baseball player was, whether they were good, bad, indifferent. The box scores were in the paper. The top 10 hitters in both leagues was with the statistics and things like that. It was on regular television all the time. You had the national game of the week on. It is now, but they don't promote the best players. And I think a lot of the players today, they don't have the personalities I think that a lot of the older players have. I get a chance to meet Ralph Garr at the Buck O'Neill.
Oh, okay.
I used to watch him hit, and he was phenomenal. He had something like 600 in college. I mean, the guy was just phenomenal as an Atlanta Brave. And so he was on the same team with Hank Aaron. And so you talk to these guys, and you get a chance to get a sense of what it was like, the camaraderie that they had with each other. And so I think baseball needs to get back to that. I mean, this RBI thing, I'm not impressed with that. They really need to go out to the schools. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Oakland had such great participation in the early days. When I would come home from college and I would coach, I would do Young America T-shirt in the morning. We had so many kids. I did Montclair. So the kids that came out of Montclair, Brian Johnson, John Finn, Tim Norton, his brother Greg Norton. Greg Norton played at Oklahoma State. Tim played at Tennessee. Great baseball players. John Finn, another great baseball player. Brian Johnson played Skyline, played at Stanford, played with the Giants. He ended up on the Giants at one point. So these guys, they came out of that program. Patchen Homage, his brother, John, played at USF, played baseball in college. These are guys that are, sort of during those summers would go to the schools and say, hey, we're having a baseball program here, have flyers. We were in the schools. And so kids knew to come out for Young American Baseball, come out. The coaches were in the neighborhoods. The coaches were out in the neighborhoods. They knew who every baseball player was. I remember my friend Gerald Price and Fred Atkins. They were both at the same age at the same time. I knew about them when they were 9 and 10 years old. Yeah, Fred, because the coaches knew. The coaches would be out in the community. They knew who these guys were. They knew who Brian Johnson was. They knew who Gary Pettis was. They knew all the guys that came in, Dave Stewart. They knew all these guys who came out of the leagues and stuff. So it was pretty much a given that we would have thousands of kids out there playing baseball. Some stopped later on when they got to high school, college, Babe Ruth, but baseball was always number one. Baseball was always publicized. Got a chance to meet Don Newcomb when I was, how was I? 10.
10.
They came to Frank Hill Field where Laney College is
Laney
now.
College, right.
Used to play at Frank Hill Field. So those things, that was a common denominator for all of us, is that we grew up playing baseball. We knew when the coaches were playing. The T-shirt leagues would funnel some of the guys, some of the leagues, a lot of the leagues. And so this was made baseball popular, and I really they need to go more back to that on television. Yeah, okay, but you really need more of a grassroots effort to get out and go to the schools and things like that. And so that's one of the things that I'd like to see happen here in New York. You're competing against the basketball folks here, and so you got thousands of kids, all these kids that want to be basketball players, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Few may get to college, but I think some of these kids have a better chance of trying baseball, at least baseball, and getting to college. And sports was an ends to a means for me, in terms of if I got to college because of sports or not, I was going either way. So there was no doubt. It just enhanced the experience. I think being able to live out a dream to play college basketball and college baseball against some of the best talent in the country, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So I think they need to get back to that grassroots effort. And whatever I can do at this point, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give clinics. I'm going to go out to the kids, work with the kids that I see that have a chance to get just to get to college. Baseball is extra. My dad always told me Major League Baseball was extra. If you got to that level, that was extra. That was gravy on the rice. That was just so many different things that would be beneficial later on. But I wasn't any different. I had a college degree from one of the greatest universities in the country. A lot of prominent people came out of there. I used to ref intramural basketball when I think about that with Eric Holder and Ted Shaw. Ted Shaw, who was the legal defense lawyer. He was in law school at the time. Eric Holder was in law school at the time. They were in the same class. One of my coaches was in law school at the time. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He just passed away not too long ago. He also was on the Knicks, and that's Hayward Dotson. Mm-hmm. And so you come across these folks during your walk that you never would have had an opportunity to meet or cross paths with and things like that. And so that's why I'm laughing, because I'm thinking of all the President Obama's games. So he had some people that were in his games that can actually play.
Yeah, go one-on-one with Eric Holder.
Exactly, that can actually play. So it's just been part of my mission to really treat sports really as a means to an end. Everybody doesn't have to be pro. And you just, I think that there's other ways to do it. And so baseball was that avenue for me. I mean, I started going to Columbia with the idea that I was going to be an architect. Mm-hmm. I started with two things. One, I was going to go into psychiatry. Then I found out that the psychiatrists have the highest suicide rate because of all the stuff that you've taken on. So I stopped that. And you have to be a medical doctor at the same time. That didn't scare me as much as all the other anxiety and stuff that you have, because I like helping people. And so I said architect. And then at the time they weren't, the real estate was crazy. And so, but I ended up obviously pushing me towards the real estate development. So that's when I went up and got the master's in real estate development. But I think the educational part always stayed with me. And that's why I think it's important for the kids to not only see sports as obviously you want to be fit, but it also leads to a healthy mind as well.
Okay, great. I have another question, and it's just because of where you live and what's going on right now. You grew up on the West Coast, and the biggest rivalry was the Giants and the Dodgers. And now you're in New York, and I haven't experienced the Yankees and the Red Sox, but they're playing tomorrow night.
Oh, my goodness. Steve, it is one of the craziest rivalries. The Giants and Dodgers, they don't have anything on this. They have nothing on this. Because the Giants and Dodgers will have hats with Giants on one side, the Dodgers with another thing on the side. The Giants A's do the same thing. Doesn't happen here. You're either for the Red Sox or you're either for the Yankees. When I was in college, now I really experienced that in the dorms, watching the games. Okay. And the rivalries their lines were drawn. I mean, the lines were clearly drawn down the middle. You either rooting for the Yankees or you're rooting for the Red Sox. There was none of this, oh, I'm a Yankee and I'm a Red Sox fan. Forget that. You were in a fight. You were in a fight, literally a fight, a fist fight. I mean, it's crazy. It's that intense. It's that intense. So it's going to be crazy. I hate they're not playing in Yankee Stadium this year, but I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I mean, I have friends on the baseball team, Red Sox fans, team that were Yankee fans, and so it's going to be fun. It's fun. One of the big things about being in New York is a tremendous sports town.
Mm-hmm.
Football, basketball, baseball, and a little bit of soccer now. But baseball, bar none, it is the highlight.
Is that right? Yeah.
Of the season. This city is dead if the Yankees are not in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Dead.
Right.
No one's watching the bars. No one's watching. No one's at the restaurants. No one's talking about it. I mean, you can walk anywhere. And I live in the Bronx, so I live close to the stadium, so I can hear the games at night sometimes. Or I can walk around the stadium and people are talking about the games, trying to get into the games and things like that. So phenomenal area to be in. But this rivalry, they play tomorrow. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
Well, if the Dodgers beat the Cardinals Wednesday night, they'll have a 5-game series with the Giants. And you're absolutely right about people getting along. What you'll see at both stadiums is you'll see couples where the husband's a Giant fan, the wife's a Dodger fan. You'll see people sitting next to each other having a good time wearing different hats. And it doesn't sound like that happens in New York or Boston.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The bars, is it Red Sox bar or Yankee bar? I mean, it's either one or the other. It's not both.
Right.
And you'll get some brave souls that will be Red Sox fans, and they'll be rooting and stuff like that. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Sounds good. So a lot of stories, a lot of experiences. What's next on your bucket list?
Wow. Right now, I want to continue coaching the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to do that. I really, like I said, I become, it's sort of coaching last year or this year has really peaked, stirred up some things that I see happening. And so I want to continue doing that. I also want to continue developing the business side of Halsey in terms of the kind of projects that I'm taking on. So I'm doing affordable housing. I'm still doing some affordable housing, some senior housing. And then I also want to work in areas that have been, I guess, I don't want to say gentrified, but to a certain extent have been neglected over the years, and to really become more involved in the development side, whether that's retail and residential. In New York, you see a lot more what I call mixed use. So you have retail, medical at the bottom, and you also have apartments, residential at the top. So whether that's co-ops, which is kind of a unique thing about New York, where you can own your space in a sort of apartment-like setting, condominium, same thing, where you own it, and you own ownership in it, in the building, the same. And then you also do residential, which is out in the suburbs, which is really, I think, important to do those things, to give folks a chance to move up the economic ladder in terms of housing, being able to have your space. You have a whole different level of confidence, I think, when you own your space. I mean, my parents own their own home in Oakland. And so I was on, and I think about the aspect of being able to help people achieve those goals. So I want to do that. Also, some initiatives around economic development, helping people with their businesses in terms of understanding. Lisa's a young lady from Nigeria who's taken farming to a whole nother level in terms of plants, and using real estate land that's vacant right now until the real estate market comes back around a little bit to food, food deserts, what they call food deserts. And so doing that. And then there's another initiative around medical folks, which COVID exposed, was trying to get more minority men and women into the health fields, not just doctors, but just health fields in general. And so I've been working on that with a mentoring group called Mentoring Medicine, where they do clinics. They do not only clinics, but they do seminars. They do training sessions to help with the MCATs, which is a major obstacle in trying to get admitted into medical schools. And so I've been involved in that. And I'm really on the finance side, but I also help, not necessarily with the classes, but I know enough that I can help point out some things. I took physiology in high school.
Oh, okay.
I took biology. And so I remember a lot of that stuff about bones and being around medical folks when you're playing ball. So you're around trainers and you learn things about your body and diet and health. And so I can help from that perspective, because that's been the emphasis as part of the medical kids, not the medical kids, but the kids that are in elementary school. So we start as early as second grade all the way up through high school. And so, and we also do what they call postdoc, where the young men, young ladies, they come in and try to hone their skills in terms of preparing for the medical tests and then applying to the right medical school. So this is sort of on my hot box right now, or my hot initiatives, going forward, and just continuing helping where I can, and offering out whatever academic expertise I have, my medical experience that I have, my finance background. So I work with a lot of the financial folks here. You can't help but be a part of that when you're in New York City. You can't. So I got my classmates, some on Wall Street. So when I can sort of tie in some initiatives that I have to the Wall Street folks, I mean, it just allows me to kind of stretch myself a little bit more. But I think these things with the kids has really been foremost on my mind right now. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show today. It's been a great conversation. Tell us a little bit more about, you talked a little bit about your daughter. What's your daughter doing now, and what's your family doing?
So my family, I'm my youngest daughter. I have 3 daughters.
Okay.
I have a 7-year-old, and a 30 and a 29-year-old.
Wow. Okay.
So my middle is a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
She went to Arizona State, and my oldest daughter, she works with autistic kids. So she just came back from a total immersion to learn Spanish in Costa Rica. And so she's working with autistic kids for a while. She's really interested in the educational space. So she's kind of a continuous student, I call it, a perpetual student. So she's still going to college and she's still honing her skills there. My mom turned 88 this year. My dad passed about 9 years ago, but he foresaw some things that I guess only fathers and men of that generation could see, in terms of me going educationally wise, mm-hmm. and just things where they're going in the world wise. And maybe that's part of his ministerial work as well. I mean, I was on the board of what do you call it? The homeless shelter in Oakland, East Oakland, mm-hmm. Community project. So on East 14th, or what they call it now, International Boulevard.
Right.
Kind of get back to, what's going on in my family. But I mean, my brother's getting ready to retire. I can't retire. I gotta keep working. I got a 7-year-old. So
7-year-old.
I'll be working for a while. She's very athletic. She really is a combination of my 2 oldest daughters. Very intelligent. She was doing, I thought I had Simone Biles reincarnate in front of me yesterday. She was doing all her little back flips and cartwheels, and we were racing and stuff like that. And so she's got a little bit of speed. So she's telling me, I'm playing the piano. I'm learning the piano. She could read very early. So she was reading before she started first grade. So, and my 2 older daughters, they were doing the same. So they're doing well. My family, we're all together. We're taking care of my mom. Like I said, my mom turned 88 early part of the year. So we get together every Thanksgiving. But I'm getting ready to come to California in a couple of days, because we're going to celebrate my my grandmother, my mom's mom, and my relatives. So we're all going to get together during that time, although she's passed away a few years ago, but her birthday is October 12th. So we're just going to get and celebrate her life. So she went to Grambling. So there's all this educational stuff that's in my family that's pretty amazing. My great grandfather, he went to Rush College in Mississippi, BA, master's, and so he really took care of all his family. So we try to keep that together. My cousin is on the Winton McManus is on the practice squad for the New Orleans Saints. He was one of the for the New Orleans Saints. So it's in our blood. It's in our blood. Athletics is in our blood. So I just want to say thank you for having me. Man, thank you for letting me share my story, really, of coming out of Oakland. You know, it just, Oakland is fantastic. I love Oakland. I love Oakland. And I'm going to close with, Oakland is the Mecca of baseball. We got other sports. Now, basketball is kind of catching up a little bit because a lot of those athletes who started in basketball, they did play baseball. Mm-hmm. So they did play baseball.
Oakland is a Mecca with baseball. It goes back a long time.
It goes back a long ways. So.
Well, that's fantastic. So much inspiration, so many great experiences. It's just great having you on the show. And to everyone who listened and watched today, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to find out more about what we do, please go to our website, productivediscourse.home.blog. It'll tell you a lot about our activities and how you can contact me. If you'd like me to speak at your service club, community organization, religious group, or your Toastmasters club. But thanks again, Michael. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you. Have a great week and enjoy.
Terrific. And we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, please like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message will go far and wide, and we'll find that shining needle of common ground in that haystack of fear.